What I've learned from thousands of hours of self-improvement material, whether it's I've gone to events, whether it's from just reading books, going through courses, things I've spent thousands of dollars on, and I want to distill a lot of it down into just this video to give you a lot of the, I would say, most important things or most impactful things that I've learned down the years. I've been on my self-improvement journey probably for the last 7-8 years, around that, maybe 6, 7, 8 years. And so I want to really especially remove the fluff and give you what's going to impact your life now and over time, so that you're not wasting your time thinking, going through things going, is this going to help? Is this going to work? Whatever else it is. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to include everything in this, but I want to give you some of the most powerful ideas that I can give you. That's coming up next. Hi there, my name is Dave and this is HeartSpace. If you're new to the channel where we are releasing videos almost every single day to help you live life more in your way, for me, that means being able to live in a fulfilled way, live from your heart, from your passion, just living a life that you ultimately excites you and is fulfilling to you. So if you want more videos that are going to give you the tools in order to help you do that, hit that subscribe button and bell icon down below. Now, like I said, I want to go over what I've learned from what's got to be thousands of hours now of just self-development, self-improvement, self-evolution, whether it's been certain practices I have come across that I found incredibly powerful, whether it's, certain nuggets of information or wisdom that I've applied in my life, again, that has been very, very powerful. I want to give that to you. Now, one thing I want to say is these are not going to be things that are just informational or just knowledge-based, like, oh, pieces of knowledge I heard and that sounded cool and then I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you things I've actually applied and I've actually seen real results from, have actually had a lasting impact or some form of an impact in my life in a positive way. And that's all I'm really going to include in this video, because there are many things I could give you that sound great, but there's a saying, knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. So anything that you know but you're not applying and you don't have actual experience in doing is essentially worthless and useless information until you actually begin to apply it. And so in this video, I'm going to give you some of the things that have been so impactful in my life, whether it's just simple exercises to more advanced strategies that you can start applying right away. And I'm going to go over why they're so powerful. So let's get into the very first one. So the first one is one that I always go back to, and there's a reason I'm making this one first, is because sometimes when we're going on this journey, when we're trying to develop, we can usually get caught in what I call the shiny object syndrome, where there's all this different information and we kind of bring it all in and then we just get confused and we don't know which one to follow. And so this is something I always come back to time and time again to remind myself of what's really going to help me grow the most. And it's simply this, is that self-development, self-improvement, evolution is an inner game. That the inner leads to the outer. And again, I'm only giving you things I have experience with here, so this is something I've actually applied into my life through different tools I'm going to give you. But this is something that's changed and transformed my life more than anything else. Because when I first got into self-development, like most people, I thought it was about manipulating the external world. I have to bend things to my will. I have to make it happen. I have to hustle, hustle, hustle in order to get ahead. But although that may have brought me some external success to a certain level, it also led to many burnouts. It also led to many dark nights of the soul. It also led to me moving towards different things that ultimately would help me. So in a way, it was very helpful, but it's not something that is sustainable and even preferable over the long term. And so I learned that in order to really influence the physical, I have to go inward. And that whatever my inner environment is doing, or however I'm cultivating my inner environment, that is how my physical environment is ultimately going to be cultivated as well. Now, there's a delay between the physical and the internal. You can call this the quantum world versus the physical world. The inner versus the outer, the internal versus the external. There is a delay. And so what happens is a lot of people start hearing information like this. They do a few things for maybe a week, a few days, and then it doesn't change their external reality. And they think it doesn't work. But the fact of the matter is that the external reality simply has a delay, because the quantum world happens instantaneously. It's eternally now. Where the physical world, there takes a delay and a buildup of momentum of energy to manifest things in the physical world. That's why you can't just do money affirmations or believe you're abundant for a few days and then go back to scarcity mindset for like weeks and then expect abundance to come in. But I did all the abundant stuff for a few days. Well, it doesn't matter, because consistently you did the other thing internally in your inner world. You really believe in scarcity over abundance. And so that's what you're going to get in your physical world. And essentially, you can also think of this as the world of your inner beliefs. What you believe, and I mean genuinely believe, not what you just tell people on your Facebook wall, not the memes that you post saying that you align with them, what you truly believe. And this is where you need to get honest with yourself. What do you actually believe? What is your worldview? And if it's one that's a little more negative right now, that's okay. Be willing to admit that, because the first step to growth is admitting where you are right now. You need to know where you are now and where you're going. That's something that Bob Proctor says all the time. But you have to be honest about where you are. And a lot of people never even get started. They never even start making progress because they're not honest about where they are right now. They're not honest about what they truly believe in genuinely, because they're too worried about what other people think about them, right? So they're like, I can't tell people that I believe in scarcity or the world sucks or whatever else, because they're afraid that if they tell people they believe in that right now, that people will be like, oh, you should, like we'll lecture them or whatever else it is. But that is what you believe right now, and that's fine. You're not saying you're going to believe that forever. You're just admitting that that's where you currently are. Again, you might be in the first grade. It's no better, or it's no one in the third grade or fourth grade or fifth grade is better than anyone in the first. It's just where you currently are. And if you admit that's where you are, that's when you can start taking the first steps, especially within your inner world, towards getting to the second grade, the third grade, the fourth grade, the fifth grade. But if you keep resisting that you're in the first grade, or you keep resisting that you're at a certain stage where maybe you see things in a certain way, you're never going to be able to move beyond that stage. And so that's the first thing I want to give you, is it's inner to outer. And I always come back to this as one of the most important lessons, especially when I get a little too hooked into my external world. I remember, oh yeah, it's an inner game to an outer game. If I cultivate my inner environment, if I allow myself to feel good inwardly and then take action from that place, that's when the true magic in my life will start to happen. Okay, and there's many tools you can use in order to influence the inner game. For example, if you're not meditating, meditation in some form is one of the most important practices I can give you. I do a heart-based meditation from a company called HeartMath, where you can buy a sensor and it'll basically tell your heart rate variability. It'll essentially tell you the energy you're in when you're meditating. Is an incredibly useful tool, when you're more connected to your heart versus when you're overthinking, things of this nature. So I'll be doing that meditation a lot throughout the day usually. But I'll do other meditations like Ah meditation, which is where I'm repeating the mantra of Ah or Om. I'll do that one as well. I'll do maybe some silent meditation. There's people like Dr. Joe Dispenza who do guided meditations, and you can find guided meditations on here. But ultimately, the technique isn't necessarily too important if you're starting out. It's just finding something you can stick to. I did the 6-phase meditation as well for a while, which is a great one for beginners and people who are further along as well. It's just a great meditation. The ultimate thing in the beginning, especially if you want to start experiencing more of what the inner world can do for you, and really what is you, is to just start in some way. Don't get too bogged down on what the right technique is or blah, blah, blah. It's just if you're meditating in some way intentionally, it's going to work. And what you're going to find is if you're starting to tap into that inner world, you will be led to other techniques that feel right to you. You'll be led to other things. But the more you can train that inner guidance, the more you can get used to that, the more you can bring that into your daily life, the better, because it's going to start developing your intuition and you're going to start to be led to other things. But that's the first thing I want to give you: inner world. Develop the inner world, inner to outer, belief systems, the energy you're moving from, what you're doing right now in this moment internally, your thoughts. All of these things are so incredibly important, and I invite you to do a lot of research, but more importantly, take a lot of action based on that, where you're actually developing your inner world. The next thing I would give you is the idea of being the star of your movie. I forget who says this. I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza, but he says your personality is your personal reality. And again, this goes back to this idea of inner world. And you're going to reason I started with that is because you're going to hear me touch upon that time and time again, because a lot of what follows really is inner world instruction or inner world strategies that are going to help you live more the life that you want to live. But your personality determines your personal reality. You see, most people are walking around in their life. If we look at the analogy or the metaphor of a movie, right? Being the star of your own movie or the hero of your own journey. I'm sure you've heard that one before, right? There is such an element of truth in this because so many people are playing as secondary characters in their own life, or even as extras to a certain extent. They're giving all of their power away of their life, of their personal reality, to people outside of themselves. And a lot of times this will be down to their belief systems. Again, personality is going to be determined a lot by your belief systems. That's why changing your belief systems, changing your inner world is so essential to changing the external, because if you have certain belief systems, a certain personality that draws other personalities or a certain environment to you, or you to a certain environment, well, it's only going to lead to things that match up with that personality, which will lead to your personal reality. But again, so many people are not going around acting as the star in their own movie. They're acting as a secondary character, usually at best. And again, I've known people and have myself acted as almost like an extra in my own movie, almost not even wanting to engage with my own movie, not even wanting to participate. And the moment you realize that you, again, in this metaphor, in this analogy, that you are to starve your own movie, that your personality leads to your personal reality, the more you can actually take your power back to create what it is you want in your life, or even better, or said better, is to align with what it is you want to align with. And the moment you actually start to implement this in your life, the moment, again, you go inwardly and you start developing yourself from an inner place, the moment you start realizing that you're the star of your movie and you're in your own personal reality and your personality leads to your personal reality, and you actually start to move from that, you actually start to take action from that place, it's the moment things will begin to change in your life. Because if you are just, again, being a secondary character, just allowing everyone else to dictate what happens in your life, waiting for something to happen or waiting for someone else to do something for you, or it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be an individual person. It could be even just waiting for the universe to do something for you. Remember, you're a co-creative being, not a sit back and wait for someone to do it for you being. So even with the universe, people think, oh, I just sit back and receive, and that's a part of the process, but it only happens, when you're actually co-creating with it. So that means you have to be taking action. You have to be doing the things it's leading you to. It's not going to do the action for you. It will bring you the ideas. It will show you the way. But again, it can open as many doors as possible for you, but it's up to you to walk through the door. The old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? And that's the same with your relationship with the universe. It can bring opportunities your way if you're working on that inner world, bringing things that align with your energy, but it can't make you do anything. You have the free will to choose whatever option you want to choose. And so just keep that in mind when you start getting good at this. But ultimately, again, start being the star of your own movie. Start coming into your life with intention, with focus on the things that you actually want to experience. And again, the moment you do that, the moment you recognize that nobody's going to do it for you, and there's a reason for that, because you have free will, you have choices. No one is going to tell you to go to the gym if you're out of shape. No one is going to come to you and be like, you need to eat healthier, or you really don't like this job and it's terrible for you and it's really bad for you. And here, I'm just going to go get you another one that is more aligned with you and that you love. Oh, you know what? You seem to want to move countries. Maybe I'll do it for you. I'll buy the ticket. I'll help you get settled, whatever else it is. It's not going to happen. You ultimately have to make that choice, because again, you're the star of your own movie. And so many other people, they're too preoccupied with their movie to really get too involved in yours. At the end of the day, you will have certain people, again, that become those secondary characters, your friends, your family, the people who are more involved. But also understand, at the end of the day, everyone is, for the most part, and it's not wrong for them to be this way, it's actually just the way it is, are preoccupied with their movie, with their show. Trying to star in it, or, really giving their power away by being a secondary character in their own movie or an extra. But just understand that no one is going to put you out in the front of your own movie and make you the star of it, even though that is the role you were meant to play in it, except you. Only you can do that. But again, the moment you start doing that is the moment things start to change. So I'm going to give you two more, and this one, again, is another one that I just love this one because this is one I used to do the opposite of, or I had to really change my beliefs around this. And when I was doing it in the opposite of what I'm going to give you, it led to so much struggle in my life. And it's to understand that the journey isn't about the destination, but who you become along the way. You see, so many people are either not present through victimizing themselves because of the past, or because of the future. They're thinking of this future place they would rather be in. They go like, oh, I don't want to be here right now. I just got to get to the end of the week and then I'll have the weekend and I don't have to do this job I don't like. Or, oh, I can't wait for that vacation 3 months from now. I'm just going to be miserable for these 3 months, but then it'll be over. I'll be through it and I'll be on vacation. Or, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Delay my happiness until this thing happens. Putting all of my happiness in this destination, right? But when you understand that you can enjoy the journey and that the destination is never about the destination, but who you become on your way to the destination, which can only happen, by the way, you can only become more of what you truly are, more of your higher self, whatever else it is, if you fully engage in the moment now with the journey. And when you do that, it can become one of the most pleasurable things. The journey, for example, of going to the gym and getting in shape can actually be a very pleasurable experience. The journey of maybe going to another country and exploring it and whatever, it's not about just going to a new destination. That can be fun, but it's the playfulness along the way. It's the adventure along the way. It's the awareness you gain along the way, not necessarily because I'm in X, Y, or Z place, right? And so again, the journey, if you can fall in love with the process and understand this, and when I heard this and when I started to really internalize this, it changed everything for me, is that you are always in process. You are never not in the process. You're always in it. And yet so many people resist it, and it's why there's so much suffering for those people. Because pain is something that's not avoidable. We all go through pain, but our relationship to that pain can be different person to person. The way we contextualize that, the way we see ourselves in relation to that pain can be very different from person to person, right? So suffering because of that pain can be a choice. And it is a choice. You can choose to suffer when that's happening. When you're in the process, you can choose to resist the process, or you can choose to embrace it. And the sooner you embrace it and you actually begin to enjoy it, again, this is when the magic happens. This is when you start to transform. This is when you start to become something not greater or more, again, because there's no necessarily right, wrong, great or worse, but more of what you probably want to become. More of what your soul is definitely leading you to become. But if you're resisting the process, you're always thinking about the past, or you're always thinking about the future, or wishing to get off to that future and not be where you are right now, is the more you're going to suffer in the only moment you ever have, which is right now. And so if you learn to enjoy the process and understand it's not about the destination, it's about who you become along the way, which is only going to happen right now, is only going to happen in this moment, is only going to happen in the process, the sooner you can embrace that, again, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you start enjoying your days. That's when you start having days well lived that lead to weeks well lived, months well lived, a year well lived, which will lead to a lifetime of fulfillment. But if you're always delaying that idea of living a well-lived life or a well-lived moment, day, whatever it is, you're always delaying your happiness, your whatever, joy, peace, love, well, you're going to continually delay it always, even if you somehow manage to get to the destination that you keep saying will make you happy, right? And so that's one of the most important lessons I've ever learned and have been applying. And again, I invite you to apply that more in your life. The last one I want to give you guys, and there is so much more that I could give you, but I tried to be very intuitive with this video and see what came up in the moment when I was writing it out, when I was going over the plan for this video. And this is the final one because again, this is such a foundational way of thinking that if you just come back to this idea, whenever you find yourself in a struggle or you're in resistance or whatever else, it'll help you come back to something that's going to put you back into what you truly are. That's going to help you get back into that calm, feeling good, joyous, peaceful, grateful, appreciative state. And it's the idea of feeling good now. And this is something a lot of success coaches, a lot of people who are living incredibly fulfilling lives go over, again, about enjoying the process and understanding the most important thing you can do when you understand that it's all about right now, it's all about the process, when you start to understand energy and its importance, you start to realize that the most important thing you can do, the best thing you can do, for the most part, is to feel good now. Now, am I talking about just blissing out and never doing anything and just being on the couch and being like, oh, I feel so good? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Because what you'll find if you are genuinely connecting to this, if you are authentically doing this, is you'll feel good, and then that will be the catalyst for action. But now instead of feeling pretty crappy or in resistance to something and then taking action from there, and from this resistance and from this very dense place, you're now taking action from a place of feeling good, which means you are connecting with a higher level of energy, whether it's joy, gratitude, happiness, abundance, whatever else it is, peace. And when you connect with that and you take action from that place, your results and the way you go about the process, again, the importance of enjoying the process, you will actually start to do that. You'll be more playful in the things that you do. You will bring more love into what you do. In fact, you will never, when you start to feel good now and then go off to do something, you're never going to do things that would go against that. So the things that you once thought that you had to do will fall away if they're not things that are actually aligned with that, and you will realize pretty quickly you didn't actually need to do those things at all. It was just your ego or your fear or whatever else telling you that you needed to do those things to survive, when in reality, that wasn't necessarily the case. And when you come from this feeling good place, you're going to start doing way more things that excite you. You're going to start doing way more things that you find fun and playful. And this doesn't mean you're not going to be doing any work. For me, making these videos is well within the feeling good range. I feel amazing when I make these videos, which happens to be what also I do for work with this channel and another channel that I do. And so I get to do something that makes me feel good. Also, I release out there to the universe on whatever social media that also helps me to earn a living. And so as you can see, there's very few things, if anything I could think of, that I do that brings me out of that feeling good energy. I try and include everything I do in that feeling good energy, but don't think that means you can't have a vocation or earn money or anything like that. It's not the case. In fact, you can make it so much fun to earn money, to create a living or whatever else it is when you do things from this place. And this is the one, if you're going to start with any of them, they're all actually, I'm not going to say that because they're all pretty, very valuable, I should say. But if you can remember this and then just have a practice or something that allows you to feel good now and then go about your day, it's going to change the way you move throughout your day. It's going to change the way you feel about your day. It's going to change the way you feel about certain things. And it's going to lead you to the things that are ultimately going to help you live a fulfilling life, because we get what we are. It's not what we want, we get what we are. And what we are in any given moment is the energy we're coming from. So if you're coming from an energy of love, what are you? You're love. If you're coming from the energy of abundance, what are you? Abundance. But if you're coming from the energy of lack, the energy of fear, what are you? Fear, lack. And you're only ever going to get back the energy of what you're on, and what you're on consistently, especially. That's why you can't just go out and be like, connect to abundance for like 5 minutes a day, and then 95% of the time be in lack and expect abundance to come in. Because what are you going to get? You're going to get what you're consistently doing. In the same way, if you go to the gym once a month, sorry, you're not going to see any results. But if you go to the gym 3-4 times a week and you do a good workout, one that's really good for your body, and you stick with it. And you also throw in, nutrition in there and other things, your body's going to start to develop. You're going to start to feel better. That area of your life is going to start to get better and better and better. And it's the same for this inner stuff too, guys. People think incredibly negative thoughts so much and then expect positive things to happen in their life. Things they deem negative and deem positive. But that's not the case. If they were to switch that and to really get more conscious about thinking in a certain way, and again, not just thinking, but how they feel about that, because you can think one thing but be tricking yourself and totally feel a different thing. It's all about the feeling, because it's all about the emotion, which is energy and motion. So I want to give you that last one. Feeling good now is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's something I've been doing more and more, prioritizing the things that make me feel good. My meditations. Right now I'm in Chiang Mai, and there's this beautiful mountain right here, actually. I'm right at the base of it almost. And it takes me 10 to 15 minutes to get up to a temple up there. And I've been going there every single day this week because it just feels so good to be there. And I'll just be, there's like a little mini waterfall there that I'll sit on some of the rocks and just be there and maybe do a little meditation, or just watch some of the butterflies that are fluttering around, or just listen. And it feels so incredibly good. And it's so funny because my ego, although it started to quiet on this one, I will start going and my ego's like, oh, we should be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then once I get there, my ego just completely goes quiet. And I'm always so grateful and so glad that I actually made the journey up there, because it just feels incredible. I take that incredible feeling into everything else I do. And in the end, it actually makes me more productive, which is, it always works out that way. But until you experience that, it can almost seem unbelievable that that's the case. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to stop there because, again, I could go on forever. I really could. But I want to stop it there and hope that you will apply some of these things in your life. If you start to do it, if you start to apply some of these things consistently, things will change. I can promise you that, but only if you apply them consistently. And again, All I'm asking for is for you to do your best. If this resonates with you, take some of this, do your best. If you fall off, just do your best to get back on it and keep going. Again, it may not be the majority of the time you're doing these things just yet because you haven't conditioned yourself to do so. But if you just keep going, you have persistence with it, you will get there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. As always, I love you, and I will see you in the next one.